I don't know if it's 4 o'clock already, but it's definitely time for another State of the Metaverse. Welcome to another episode. What episode is this, ladies and gentlemen? I think we're at number 6, number 7. I'm not entirely sure. I'm kind of losing count already because how can I not? Every week we have such an amazing time with amazing guests talking about the Metaverse. And now I get a nice little Telegram message from Riyadul Islam. Can I send you a proposal? No, you cannot. Goodbye, block user. This is one of the amazing things about Telegram. Once you become a CMO of a Metaverse company, people like to send you unwarranted invitations and proposals all day long. But how have you guys been? This week, we have another amazing guest for you. Another amazing guest for you. Let me put it that way. So this man has also been a speaker recently at our live event here in // in Utrecht in our headquarters. Everybody thought that he had an amazing talk, and I can say I absolutely agree 100%. He made a very funny comment, which is probably the most viewed video sample of that event in recent weeks. And so I'm going to show that first, and then we're going to go straight into the interview. So let's have a look at that.
I'm an old man. I saw the first computer. I loved it, did nothing with it. Then I saw the internet coming, loved it, did nothing with it. I saw this coming and I thought, this is probably my last shot, basically. That I'm an old man. I saw the first computer. I loved
okay,
it,
so
nothing with it. Then I saw the
I don't know if you guys
did nothing with it.
saw that. I seem to have some weird little thing going over his wonderful hair, but I guess this week is our very own Christiaan Eisberg from StraightFire. And as you heard, Christiaan is still a very young man who loves to be in the tech space. Welcome, Christiaan.
Hey Argon, how are you doing? Thank you for sharing that piece of video.
It's our favorite little video. In fact, we're all still having a good time, and we watch it at least once a week here in the office.
Good. I'm glad to be of service.
So I don't know. By the way, I don't know. Did you see that there was like a white bar of text at the top of the video, or was it just me?
Oh no, I only saw the text at the bottom, and I vividly remember saying it.
Yeah. Okay, so then, no, I was just, the reason I'm asking is because every week there's at least some small technical difficulty, and this week seemed to be going smoothly, so I was wondering whether that was it. Okay, so Christiaan, obviously I know who you are. We've met several times. I've had the great pleasure of being at your offices. A few months ago, you guys hosted Make Art, Not War, which was a very nice live stream kind of event with interviews from your offices, and it had to do with NFTs. So maybe for those people that do not know who you are, maybe you can give us a quick introduction.
Yeah, so I'm Chris. I've been in this space not very long, only for a few years. I guess like a lot of us started out in crypto, and over time found my little niche, which is NFTs, and more specifically developing collections and building a piece of infrastructure. By trade, I guess I've always been working on the crossroads of business and creativity, and then I guess on the crossroads of creativity and business, and then specifically in branding and storytelling. And I guess that's still the area that I'm involved in, but now just using a new piece of technology.
Okay, yeah, because the funny thing about the video sample that we watched now and that we talked about already is you say like, I was there for the computer, I missed that one, then I saw the internet rise and I missed that one. But throughout all of that time, you've definitely been developing your storytelling skills, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess, like a lot of other people, I've been trying to find my way a little bit, but I guess over time, it's always been working with creatives, and I guess providing a foundation for creatives to be creative, and I guess that's taking away a lot of the heartaches and the pains, get funding, develop nice teams that support the creativity. I guess for every creative, they recognize that that's something that's important. But I think it all started with my love and awe, I guess, of people who can actually do something and have a skill set.
People who can
Yeah.
actually do something. Wow.
Well, let's face it, Aragon. I think what I mean with that is that you have all these finance people that try to control the world, but let's face it, what are they really adding? So I think this is
Ooh,
this is where it's happening. And
shots fired.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Let's take a position here. And on the side of the screen, I'm looking at some of the people that are working here in the office and are doing amazing creative stuff.
You're head
and
of finance.
I always tell them, yeah, exactly. And then I'm always saying, I'm so envious of you because you're actually you can actually do something.
Yes, I know how that feels. I know what you mean. So I don't know about you, but I'm a dropout from university. I actually failed the first time I finished high school, which was a horrible experience. By the way, I still have nightmares of that, going to the parties while I was the only one who didn't make it. But for the longest time, I know what you mean. For the longest time, I felt like I don't really have a skill. I'm not a what do you call this? There's a word for this. Vakman in Dutch. What do you call that? A craft. I don't have a craft.
I guess like a craftsman, or a specialist, yeah.
We have Alex is already in chat, our CEO. He says finance people rule the world. Yeah. So, but
true, Alex.
I totally know what you mean. But the funny thing is that we are really popular now, Chris. Storytellers. Oof.
Storytellers. Yeah. I guess so.
So
I think that. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, can you tell us the story of StraightFire? The saga of StraightFire.
Once upon a time. So StraightFire, I think maybe the name is street slang for something being awesome, something new, something never seen before, fashionable, stuff like that. So we thought it was like a fitting name for what we were doing. I guess when we looked at the I guess when you look at creatives, right? Over the past 10 years, let's say the digital age, right? I think a lot of the creatives have not got their fair share. A lot of a lot of the budget has flocked into marketing. And obviously we all know that that's an important thing, right? In the Web3 world, we call it community building. In the Web2 world, it's marketing, whatever you want to call it. I think you have to get the message across.
Yep.
I think that's where the storytelling became a very important element. So there's nothing per se wrong with it. But a lot of the creators that were creating a product or as what we just talked about, have this very specific skill set.
Yep.
That was always kind of taken for granted. And so you could have the finance people and the marketing people were thinking, well, the product is nice to have, but it's a given. We're going to make it exceptional, right? And I think, and I've worked in luxury goods before, where if you go down into the little like factories in the middle of Italy and you see the real craftsmanship, you suddenly realize like, well, this is where it really is happening. And without this, there's no story to be told.
Yeah.
So I think over the past years, I've become more and more an advocate of, okay, we have to shift the balance a little bit, and we have to remunerate these people. We have to make them share in the glory, in the earnings, and then when we were working on another project, we came across NFTs, and we thought, well, that's an amazing opportunity.
That's a very interesting thing that you mentioned right now, because you came across NFTs and you thought, hey, this is an opportunity for craftsmen, for real artists to have a new opportunity to perhaps find new ways of revenue, etc. That stuff. But that's not what most people think when you mention NFTs.
No, and I think that is obviously what's your first touch point. That kind of like determines how you view it, right? And then I guess it depends on your own research. If the research kind of like stops with the major articles in regular newspapers or digital publications, I guess you would probably think that an NFT is an expensive JPEG, that it's an ape. And I guess the answer is, well, it's so much more. And that's part of the business that we're in. So what we have started to build with StraightFire is thought, well, there are a few issues at the moment with NFTs, and that is that people think it's an expensive JPEG, it's an ape. What's the big deal, really? And I guess it is lacking a bit of utility. It's certainly lacking
Yeah,
provenance,
we're gonna get into
and
that
it does.
utility. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and it doesn't really evoke human emotions, right? So I
Mm,
think what we were thinking is, um, why don't we try to connect NFTs with the masses?
yeah.
So where is the masses? They're all on social media, existing social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
So we don't really see the point at the moment yet to start building a Web3 social media platform,
Mm,
because all the people are already like on Twitter, on Insta.
yeah.
So what if we build that bridge? And that has become StraightFire, which
So when
I
you say
guess
building
is,
that bridge, you
yeah,
mean we're gonna make something that we can take to
yeah,
the more traditional social media and allow
yeah,
them to see something or interact with something that they think this is really cool, that might take them into that world of NFTs, and in some way might convert them to, hey, there is
yeah.
there is potential in crypto or NFTs or that stuff. Is
This is
that a good?
exactly it. Yeah, this is exactly it. And I guess that, why don't we show that in the place where people currently already are, so that they can have different types of exposure to what an NFT could be. So I think I would be the first to say that if you go on OpenSea, that, I don't know, I'm just going to put a percentage on it, but let's say 90% of the stuff that's on there is not very extraordinary, for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, normally I use a different narrative. I say it's pretty shit, but I think that, it doesn't really wow the masses. And I
No.
think that if NFT wants to have a future, and I guess we're in NFT 2.0 a little bit, but if it wants to go to like 11.0,
Yeah.
then there need to be more people, and there need to be
Yeah.
more ordinary people. There need to be people that are not really interested in cryptos yet,
Mm,
let alone in NFTs. So how do you find them? You find them on the existing social media channels, and what do you show them is a story. So most current NFTs don't really contain that story yet.
yeah.
So what we have built is, an app
Mm.
that provides a stage, literally a 3D stage, to your NFT. Um, you selected 3D stage
It's
from a
like
library of
it's
different
kind of like a
stages, like
like a
filters.
trophy, like a trophy shelf.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a 3D world almost, and you can put your NFT or NFTs in that world. It's supported with music. You can add your personalized text to it. You can even put your link to your OpenSea seller's account in it.
Mm.
And the outcome is a video that you can share to all your socials with one push of the button. And I guess it just amplifies your NFT. And as we've called it, is we bring your NFTs alive.
So
And that's basically
I'm
what
just
our
having
dev does.
I'm just having a thought here, right? So because I don't know how about you, but so I know a lot of people that during Christmas they have this fake fire on the television. So now I'm suddenly thinking they could have their straight fire on the television, pun intended. They can show their NFTs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We could control Christmas. That's what basically the
That would be really cool. Personally, I really do. I'm not even kidding. I really like that. I don't know for we're streaming from the office today, but for those of you that have ever watched one of our streams where I'm doing it from home, my television is on the background, and I always put some cool Metaverse video or something that I really like. For our launch pad Solanium, we had this, Arthur, who's right here, by the way, because he wanted to keep working rather than watch a stream. That's the work ethic here. He made this super cool Solanium logo in Blender that turns around, and I think it's literally one of the coolest 3D art I've ever seen, and I always have that on the television, so I'm not even kidding. Cool.
And so I think that really helps, right? So, I think we try to show the real potential that an NFT might have. I think
Mm,
if you look at Boring Ape, right? I think a lot of people now with Yoga Labs kind of like taking it over, and I think that a lot of people have an opinion about it. And some people are very excited by the little trailers that they put out. Some of them are really skeptical.
mm,
Um, I guess what we are offering those NFT creators, like these big projects, but even
yeah.
also brands, we give them the opportunity also to upload their own 3D stages.
Yep.
Um, so people can actually, feature the NFT that they bought in the
Yep.
world that was provided by the own creator. And
Yep.
I guess then it becomes quite interesting. So I think to a certain extent, we're developing little metaverses that feature your NFTs and make them come alive.
Yeah.
And I guess what was quite interesting is that over the past year we've also started to build a project that's called the 12. I think you see it in the background as well.
You
It's
really
a
beating me to the punchline. I have a nice little script here, and it says, ask him about the
sorry for that.
12. And no, that's okay. No, you can go ahead.
So I will slowly ease into that one. No, so the thing I wanted to say with that is that so we're trying to build like a new fandom, and of course you can dream big. So let's assume the new Marvel, right? But I think what we're really trying to do there is we're trying to develop an interactive sci-fi story that has a lot of interaction with the community, that can shape the future of the story, and they can play a role in the story. And I think that's all quite nice and cool. But what we really learned from it is that what are the problems that NFT creators are facing in getting their message across. So it helped us tremendously to develop some of the functionality that we have. So for example, you have a project, an NFT project, you build up the hype until the mint, then you have this final reveal. Everybody's very, very hyped. Floor price go through the roof. There's always this moment where you think as a creator, what's next? Then you have these little collectible projects. You maybe do a collaboration with another project. But really what we're trying to do here with the DApp is we say, okay, you can continuously create these little like stories for your current holders. They can promote and they can keep to promote your project, so you stay alive, right? They can try to ramp up the floor price for themselves. And as what most NFT projects have is they have a royalty payment system built in. So you do something good for your own revenue as well. So I think we're trying to solve real issues that are out there. And I think that's quite nice. Yeah.
We think that's very cool. I mean, originally the Beam Up, the company, started out with a slogan about immersive storytelling, which over time obviously morphed, transformed, grew into our current quest for your open metaverse. But your open metaverse as well, we're trying to build a platform, and the whole idea behind it is to allow people to build those stories in a way that they can interact with other stories, so that we do not just have a single narrative, but ultimately that we can create a combined narrative. Think of it like a Persian tapestry, where every single thread of a different color ultimately comes together to make an even more beautiful tapestry, and the tapestry of the story of life ultimately will be woven that way. So we totally understand what you're saying. It's having beautiful stories and narratives is very important, because like you said, every NFT, every piece of art that you make and that you release ultimately, represents a story. There's always more to it. Very nice. Love it. I want to quickly dive with you into a few news items that we have every week. We always want to cover the news for everybody, and the format that we've lately been adopting. Also, for those of you watching or listening to the show on Spotify or Apple iTunes, of course, is one where we have guests like yourself, Chris, and then we dive into the news, and we kind of discuss what's going on in the market. So the first one here, for those watching the live stream, I'm gonna switch over to my other screen here. Bam. Crypto job market holding up despite... Is this the right one? Am I looking at the wrong one? No, I made a boo-boo. Sorry, guys. we're going to come to that one later. It's so hard pressing all these buttons. NFT sales crash 92%, but is this the full story? This was covered on Creative Block, but of course we've probably heard it on many different news outlets. NFT sales have crashed 92%. You're in the NFT business, Chris. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, two things. One is where like a year ago, if you would launch a project with a couple of JPEGs, you hyped it up, you create some FOMO, you could probably sell out and make $10 million in the process. I think since the beginning of this year, you can see that the type of project have dramatically changed. There's much more emphasis on what's the real utility, what does the roadmap look like, So I think to a certain extent, a lot of these projects, they have to become a lot more serious. And I think quite rightly so, right?
Yeah.
We're not in the business of selling hot air. So as a consequence, I think the threshold to set up a successful project has exponentially increased. So there are just not, it's not very simple anymore to come up with something. And I think what you now see is we're in this stage where you see the entry of companies that have a real story to tell and are using NFTs while they are developing the story. For example, like DC just did is venturing into it, but they're quite clear. Their venture into the NFT world is a multi-year process,
Yeah.
and they share quite clearly what people can expect in the coming years. So it doesn't become a speculative like investment. It becomes a calculated thing that you do because you believe in the project, you believe in the brand, or in the opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think there are just less of these projects around. I think that's one. I think the second is that I personally quite like this. Where before, if you wanted to get your ideas out or your company known, you had to pay big marketing dollars and be part of this FOMO, this hyped up atmosphere where if you don't have 400K followers in your Discord, you're a bit of a loser.
Yeah.
And then, at one stage, there's always this correction of 150K bots were kicked out, right? It's this very unhealthy way of creating a community, which is not really a community.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of people living on FOMO. So I think what you see now is you don't have to shout. If you have something nice, people will listen, because there is not that much good news. So obviously, by heart, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm always positive about everything in life, right? So
Yeah, horrible, isn't it, to be an optimist?
exactly. So, but not to say that, of course, it depends a bit on our mood and how tired we are at the end of the day. That when I look at these numbers, but I think realistically speaking, it is a big opportunity for the projects that have something real. And I think we all have to go through it. I think it's also a matter of it's getting a little bit more mature. I think
Yeah. I
the
think
honeymoon period is a bit over. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what a lot of people forget, and this is a kind of it kind of reminds me of a conversation I have with my mom all the time. So my mom, she's 78, and she'll go like, "Oh, there's so much more crime now," and I'll be like, "No, mom, it's not that there's more crime. There's probably less crime if you look at the size of the population and the actual amount of crime, percentage of crime. The thing is, back when you were young, nobody was sending their smartphone made video of the crime and sending it onto social media and making a big fuss out of it. Things just didn't go as far. There was not as much reach, right? Something might happen in your hometown, you might hear about it, but something might happen, 1 or 2 towns down the road, and you'd never hear about it. But now we hear about everything. So this whole NFT sales thing, of course, it's suddenly global news. Everybody's talking about it. Oh, the market did 90% collapse. But the reality is that it's still early days, and it's a very normal kind of cycle to happen to any kind of popular development or hype. So there's nothing really wrong with this. And like Bert Slachter said in the Satoshi Radio and the Cryptocast, I think he also said it, and I repeated this several times, quoting him. He said, it's a little bit like a bushfire. You need a bushfire once every while to get away of all the dead wood, all the the crap, and turn it back into nutrition for all the good projects, all the good trees, the wonderful stuff out there. And I think the same goes here. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think there's plenty of people that sit on the sideline that have an opinion about everything. And then suddenly you are sitting down with the people that are all really doing it, trying to make the difference and not having an opinion about it. I think it's quite refreshing. I think it depends a bit on what stage we're at, who's basically being looked at. I think now we're at the stage where the people who are building something substantial, I think they will be listened to. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I have a question though. You mentioned a few times utility, building trust. Now is more important for projects. They cannot just release, anything and instantly become millionaires anymore.
Yeah.
But I would like to go a step further. What do you think is beyond utility? Is there anything after utility, or is it just a matter of being more creative with this utility? Or do you have any thoughts on what's on the horizon for us? End of this year, perhaps 2023. Do you have any thoughts on that?
You mean in terms of specifically NFTs or in the decentralized world in general?
Uh, Either way, whatever you want to answer.
Yeah, so I think for us or for me, it's very clear, right? When you look at the real value of an NFT, it consists of four elements. First being scarcity. I think everybody got that part, but still, if my 8-year-old son, bless him, he's a very good drawer, but if he draws something, it doesn't, and he only draws one of it, it doesn't make it worth a lot, right? So
Mm,
I think it's a bit thin. Second being utility. I always use this analogy, which has got nothing to do with NFTs, but you have a Ferrari. There's only one made of the world. Scarcity, tick. Utility, you can drive from A to B. That's another tick. The
mm.
provenance, well, it's Ferrari, right? That's
Yeah.
number 3. Number 4 is the human emotions it evokes. That's the fourth element that we want
Yeah.
to add to it. Um, a lot of people would say, yeah, that's quite obvious, right? It does that. Well, our CMO, Bay, she doesn't have a driver's license. So for her, that last part is not ticked.
Mm,
There is no point. She can see all the other 3, but she will never buy it. And I think that if you look at it like from that point of view, then
yeah.
as an NFT developer or creator, you have to tick a lot of boxes in order to sell it to somebody.
Yeah.
So how can you evoke these human emotions? Well, sometimes it's a very subjective thing. Sometimes it is based on FOMO.
Yeah.
You buy one and you sell it for 10 times the price.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, that's the human emotion that they're interested in. What we
Yeah.
are arguing is if you want an influx of new people, and I think now seems to be the right time for it, then you have to attract people that are not driven by that.
Mm,
And I think that's where the storytelling part will come in, and where
yeah.
I guess we go back to the real world a little bit. And
Yes.
so take a look at what big brands in the real world are very good at doing, and borrow a little bit of that. I think that's the development that we will see. And I think maybe a good example is that for the end, maybe we get to it later on as well, is you see the influx of Twitter and Insta, and then those social, say Web3 or Web2 social platforms
Mm,
taking interest into NFTs. And I think it is an example of the moment where we're in. They're taking an interest, they're taking it step by step, they take baby steps, because of course they have a finished product that they don't want to screw up,
yeah.
so that it has to be an add-on. Um, and but the fact that they take an interest in it, for me, that's a sign. Okay, we're now moving into a new stage. It's going to be more mature, and we personally love what they're doing because it completely fits within our philosophy on how the connection will be built.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, again, I think what we see around the utility is that
Mm,
you have to be very specific in the value that you add to a person. So that's why we decided we're going to be very specific. You own an NFT, say you want to sell it. How on
mm,
earth am I going to promote it and make it stand out from the crowd? And that's what we help you with. And of course, there's multiple applications for our platform later on. But I think this is an immediate need that is out there in the market, and not by finding other buyers in the existing network, but in a new network.
yeah.
And that's kind of like what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's very, very clear. Yeah. I agree with most of that. You did mention something, a few interesting things there. You said, 10 companies, you mentioned a few of them are also moving into the space. They're very interested to see what's going on. Now, of course, this is not new news because this already happened a few weeks ago. But of course, there was this conversation for a while there because Meta said,
Yeah.
we're gonna have NFTs. And then they, very casually announced that they were going to have 47.5% fees on these NFTs. And everybody
Yeah.
was like, are you guys out of your puntje mind. and,
Yeah.
and they were like, no, that's very market conform. So what do you think about that? I mean,
Yeah, so I think within I guess the Twitter communities that we are in, right? I think everyone was saying that's amazing news. Well done. That kind of like eliminates you from this world, right?
yeah.
If you look at OpenSea, 2.5%, yeah, what's the difference really? So, but I think
I
what
think
I, what I,
it's crazy. I
yeah,
mean, yeah.
no, exactly. But I think that if your starting point is the business that you have now, where you maybe rip off like 60%,
Yeah.
and you now go
But
for 40, that feels like an amazing step, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
This is the point I'm trying to make every day. Like every day. Yesterday I did a keynote with Nextworks, and the funny thing was right after me was a country manager from Meta, and of course
Good.
I literally torched Meta to the ground probably. But
I think next time, Aragon, I think you start the conversation by saying a little bit less meta, a little bit more verse, right?
yeah,
And then you
yes,
start. Yeah.
exactly. Oh, that's a good one. I gotta remember that. But yeah, but they asked me, of course, or they asked me, they ask us both probably, how are you guys gonna do this? How are you gonna take on the big tech? And I think that's the answer right there, because they are unable. They're simply they can't make the jump. They can't do it because in their minds it doesn't work, because from where they are now to where they have to go, it's like that scene from the Matrix, right? And they're not Neo, so they're just not gonna get across.
No, it's very true, very true. I think that when so we were doing for our we're just about to start our new fundraising, so we had to do this investor deck with the competitor analysis and stuff like that, right? So our competitor analysis is you have the digital wallets that we as a company connect to, you have the sales platforms that we connect to, and then we have Web 2 socials. Now you also have Web 3 socials. So what's the biggest difference between those two? They still are facing the same problem, and that is how can I get traffic, right?
Yep.
But it's the remuneration model and it's the rewarding model. So for our app, we have introduced this concept called share to earn. And obviously it was stolen from Play to Earn and from I have a new one since today, Watch to Earn.
Watch to
Watch
Earn.
to Earn. Yeah, Netflix
Like
has
it.
this
They have Watch to
Love
Earn?
Robots. Yeah, it's a Love
Yes.
Robots
Yeah, it's amazing series.
series.
Have you
Right?
seen it?
Yeah. I absolutely adore it. For the next season 2, they're going to they work together with a company called Feature that developed some of the NFT products for Hux. They have now developed for each of the episodes NFTs that you can buy. So we actually today in the office we bought a few of them. And what you see there is, so Netflix is now getting into the business of linking to NFTs. Spotify last week. So I think you see all these connections coming. So what we decided already a long time ago is to introduce share to earn. And basically what it means is that, so in the app, right, you have to use a 3D stage, you feature your NFT in it, you share it to your socials. We measure, for example, on Twitter, what the impact is on your Twitter.
Yeah.
And then for the stage that you've used, we give that a certain rating. So there's great 3D stages, and there are amazing 3D stages. So there's, depending on that, you have a different multiplier. Then the outcome of the impact on your socials multiplied by the rating of your stage is a score. That score determines how much money you earn. You just basically earn S5, our token. You get immediately rewarded for it because basically you're doing all the work. Why shouldn't you be rewarded, right?
Yeah.
Those S5s you can then use to buy better 3D stages that create a bigger earning model. So that's kind of like your flywheel there. So Amazon has a flywheel as well.
So there's gonna be a big game guild gonna come down on you and start buying StraightFire NFTs and renting them out to their members.
Exactly, but I think that would be nice, right? No, but I think the reality is that Amazon also has a flywheel.
Yeah.
The difference is it's the flywheel that works for them, not for you, right? And I think that is the biggest difference in how you see the decentralized world with the centralized world. Web 2 with Web 3, is and that explains why Meta's business model is what it is, and
Yeah.
why OpenSea has a different one. And I find it quite intriguing that yeah, what they've, and I think also with a lot of these companies, right, they just like lift these balloons. They just let them go and see what sticks and happens. And
Yeah.
yeah, some are better at it than others. But I quite enjoy the fact that we now have examples, right? I think before we were talking to people about what we wanted to do. They were like, "Why? What?
Yeah.
How?"
Yeah. No.
And
Yeah.
now we just say, "Well, it's little bit like what they're doing, but we're just doing it a little bit better,
We're just doing
as we
better.
think." Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of a fun, this kind of shimmies, although maybe not too obviously, but there's a question in chat here.
Right.
Roaming Marco has a question. The arts, including marketing, storytelling, etc., are the first ones to take a hit when recession hits. Do you think this will continue to always be the case, or does Web3 bring tides of change? Interesting
Yeah.
question.
Well, I think the reason why it hits first in the Web 2 world is because there's always a party in between. So, when times are good and times are bad, I think you never really are in control of the whole thing. There's always, like, for example, in art, you have this gallery owner that's in between. It's very intransparent. You have really no idea whether the market is great or not so great. I think there's always like this. So I used to work, as I said, in luxury goods.
Yeah.
So you always have to deal with retail. We always had the frustration that the retailer was never sharing the real data of the customers that they had, because they wanted to keep it for themselves. But the problem was they could not anticipate how the market was behaving. So you could not anticipate it. I think now what you see in the Web3 world is, as an artist, you can immediately see what works and what doesn't. You can actually act. So I don't think it will be the same in this world. But of course, what you still have to deal with is, if you're an artist or a creator, there's more to it than just curating something.
Yeah.
You really are a businessman as well, an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. You're a marketeer. You're everything at once. So where OpenSea has taken up that role of, oh, you want to open up a shop? It's a bit like Shopify, right? Don't worry, you just open an account here and you can sell.
It's very much like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And then what we're trying to do here is say, after Shopify was started, yet the whole ecosystem of companies was set up to help you then find your customer and
Yep.
sell, right?
Yep.
And I think that's basically what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to help those artists and say, listen, we understand that you might not be that technical guy that can actually develop a video out of what you have, or you might not be the storyteller in terms of marketing or social media. So don't worry about that part. You just provide your NFT, we will do the rest for you. So
Yep.
I think that's maybe a good analogy for it. So I think that besides all that, I see that there is a completely different attitude in the world that you, me, are working in.
Yeah.
I think the way on how you work together, because we realize that this is a niche market still, where it's a bit of anarchy, it's very volatile. So what do you have really is you and me as a personal relationship.
Yep.
It's like we try to change the world for a better place type of thing. So I think
Yeah.
it sticks together better. I think.
I think that, and I think there's to add to Chris's answer to your question, Marco. I think there's two other parts of this narrative. There's the longer term, and when I say the longer term, I mean 10 years ahead, 15 years ahead. As a result of Web3, I see I really believe, let me put it that way, I really believe we're moving into an age of abundance, right? I really believe in the Jeff Booth kind of view, like technology is deflationary power, and with Web3 and the Metaverse, we're moving into an age where there will be abundance for everybody. But we're not there yet. We have another decade or so to go before we get there. Next decade, my personal belief is that we're gonna be in for a rough ride. Not everybody wants to hear that. Not everybody's looking forward to that, but I think it's gonna get worse before it's gonna get better. But what we're building today with Web3 and the Metaverse is definitely the first steps on that journey to get there. And once we get to that point of abundance, that means that our most basic needs are fulfilled. for humanity, for people. And that means that then for the first time in history, the arts will be something that will be the most essential to us, because anything, the things that now, why do we, start going away from investing in arts when we have a recession? Is because we focus on what we think are our basic needs. And although I would argue that arts are a basic need, that's not what everybody believes yet.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we're
good
going
point.
to get there. And the other side of it, of course, is that as we're moving into the metaverse, which is in the pretty short term, I think that with the new business models that will grow, for example, share to earn, we'll also see that there will be a change. In the short term, there will already be a change, because with these new business models, with these new earning models that are enabled through blockchain technology, through NFTs, there will be a much stronger case to make for keeping your investment in the arts, because there will be more ways of making that work for everybody.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, that's a very good point, Ergon. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, thanks. Cool. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yes. So there's another news item I'd like to share. Sorry, by the way, Sandeep. I don't know if he's still here, because he was making noise in the kitchen, and I was like, don't do that. Let's see. Here we go. Presentation. Do we have the right one? Yes, this is the one that I was shown before, and then I had to switch away from it. Crypto job market holds up despite tech industry cutbacks. So basically what's going on is that what we're seeing, because of the financial downfall that is hitting the world everywhere, both in crypto and of course also very much outside of it, the big tech is they're laying off jobs. Netflix already, of course, a big loser recently, with 75% drop in their stock value. They have terminated 150 employees already, and yet in the crypto scene, that's not happening. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, first two things that come to mind is, well, on the one hand, this is of course a not very efficient part of the industry yet. There's a lot of people trying stuff, but not in a very effective way, because we're trying to create new things. So we really have, at least I speak for myself, but we're just trying trial and error, right? So we do a lot of we pay for a lot of learning by doing stuff that never sees the day of light. Of course, a lot of these tech companies, of course, are in a completely different stage, right? They're in the stage of doing everything as efficient as possible. So I think the moment the inflow of capital is stagnating, you have to do something. Yep. So I think that is one reason. I think the second reason also is that there's an extreme shortage in our industry of people with knowledge, and the type of jobs that are being thought of, or that suddenly we realize we need, is in abundance, right? So I think I saw this little stat the other day that the top 20 jobs in our industry didn't exist 2 years ago or something like that. And I thought,
I'm not surprised.
Fair enough. And in Netherlands, every year there's like this Bilderberg conference, and my wife was at one a few years ago, and they normally, what they do is they make a prediction what the market will look like in 25 years from now, and it was about education. And the conclusion was, what we train our kids to be, about 80% of those jobs are not going to be there by the moment they hit the job market.
Yeah.
And I think if you realize that, then that's extremely difficult to plan your education for.
Yeah.
I noticed that we're taking a bit of a side road here, but I think what that means is that if you do education, it's based on things like being flexible, or being open-minded, or being multi-skilled, or whatever. And I think then you actually prepare your next laborers. I think what we see now is, there's a huge need for new type of people, and we're not really sure yet what background they should have, what they will be doing. So there's a lot of inefficiency there as well, and I think that's probably why there's still a lot of people being hired. That besides the fact, of course, that we are working in the most interesting industry in the world at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think actually the funny thing is because apparently if you read the article, they also kind of say that from what they can tell, they see that the people that are actually leaving big tech are actually joining, our scene, our industry, the
All
crypto
right.
industry,
Yeah.
as it's growing so fast, even in these times. Well, yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. In fact, I think this is funny because you said you guys have that share to learn model, a less well-known X to earn model that's also slowly rising that I think has massive potential is learn to earn.
Yeah.
Learn to earn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of forgot the name of the website, but there's a really interesting website out there already, and they look to partner with brands to set up online education where if you take those courses, you actually earn some of the crypto for
Yeah.
how far you progress through the courses and the results of the homework you do, which I think is amazing because that allows companies to make an investment to actually support an industry and really incentivize people to go ahead and change their skill set, which is something that's going to be increasingly important because if you look at the kind of keynotes you and me give these days, we often tell people, look, technology is changing the world at an exponential rate, and in the next 5 to 10 years we're going to see the same amount of change as we've seen in the last 20 years. So what does that mean for the job market, right?
Yeah, and I think that it's nice if these stories come out a little bit more than just like these greedy bastards, these greedy crypto investors that and the people that actually destroy value. And it's this is of course a popular narrative in normal publications because I think bad news sells better than good news. But
of course, traditional media loves the bad news. That's how it works. Yeah. But we're gonna change that, right, Chris?
Yeah, we're on a mission.
We're on a mission.
Yeah.
Indeed. Talking about that mission, because we covered the news items now, I'd like to take you all on a little journey to something very special. So we're having Chris here on the show. For those of you that have only dropped in just now, Chris is CEO of a company called StraightFire, also located in the Netherlands, and they're doing amazing stuff with NFTs. And Chris, you guys are actually rebranding, right? So I have a little thing here I want to show everybody. I'm going to switch over to it now. You guys used to be known as a StraightFire. NFTs are emotions you can own. Was it? Own?
Yeah.
I already forgot.
Yeah.
And now, but now you guys have a new one, although it's very small here in the bottom. Bring your NFTs alive. Please tell me, how did you guys go about this?
It's basically like this, Aragon. I think at the moment, whether it's either the quality of the NFTs or whether it's the nature of the people buying it, most of the NFTs that are out there in the world, despite the fact that they're on OpenSea probably, so you can see them, they're all hidden in your digital wallet. So people don't really know what to do with it. So I think about a year and a half ago or so, there was a big influx of companies that were developing, okay, so how can you display it on a TV, for example? Then there were these digital room companies that said, okay, now you can watch it on all your NFTs in one place. I think a lot of initiatives were taken into the concept of, okay, how can I show it to the world? So this is kind of like where our starting point was. But what we quite quickly came to a conclusion is that the general consensus is it's a JPEG. There's nothing really happening there. And if you want to grab people's attention, particularly in today's day and age where TikTok, for example, dominates a lot of the social scenes, video is the way to go. But how do you turn a 2D picture into something that is moving and that is kick-ass and that is kind of creating a buzz? So that's the starting point for what we wanted to do. So I guess we bring your NFT alive. And what was quite interesting is it's easily said and done, right? So it's a mobile app. It's real-time rendering from a 2D thing into a 3D moving video. I'm not a technical person, so bless me, but I've been told by our developers that this is not a small feat, so I'm quite proud of what we're doing there.
Just out of curiosity, right? Are they using AI in this process, or are they using like some GPT-3, DALL-E stuff to do this?
No, so no. So there's no AI involved in it. What is quite nice is that we're using a lot of open source software to actually do it. So
That's nice.
one of the girls here in the office who's developing a lot of 3D stages.
Mm.
Her background is in building Minecraft worlds, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
I guess she's doing something similar now, but we call it 3D stages, and you put your NFT in it.
Yeah.
But I think it all comes to the point of people wanna experience it more. So we have to deal a little bit with the fact that we have this whole backlog catalog of NFTs that are purely just an image.
Mm.
So we're going to first pimp that up, but we're also developing our own NFT collection, and there it becomes a far more interactive concept where if you know upfront that you could have this 3D world that your NFT could feature in,
Yeah.
then you can start an NFT collection with a completely different mindset. So it
Yeah.
can already be a more interactive, dynamic NFT.
Yeah.
So funny enough, today it was announced that we have this partnership with Oracles, and we have the same or similar type of setup with Chainlink, where we're
Mm.
using the VRF module that helps us develop dynamic NFTs.
Yeah.
And I think there will be a big opportunity for that as well. But you all have to know things up front.
Still
And
breaks
I
my
think that,
heart, Chris, that
yeah,
you guys that you're not on Solana like us, because could have done such
yeah.
amazing things
Well,
together.
I must say that our when we mint an NFT, it's on Polygon, but everything else, right? We connect to most digital wallets, so it basically you can see your NFTs from 70 plus different blockchains. So I think we're a little bit agnostic when it
Yeah,
comes to that.
we,
But
we'll
I'm
have to
with you
talk
on the
about that
gaming.
sometime.
Yeah, I think Solana is doing an amazing job, right? Particularly in the gaming space. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know there's opportunity there. Well, we're gonna explore that together.
Convert us. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that it's gonna happen. Cool. Okay, so yeah, new beta launch. Tell us, there's some exciting stuff coming up, right?
Yeah, so we're now for the DApp we're in alpha test. So we're having a lot of fun in the office with it. There will be a new demo coming out next week, I think. That will go nicely with our new investor deck for the final private round investment.
How can people get in on the demo?
So what we will do is we will publish it. So we will publish it on our YouTube, on our socials, so people can have a look at it. And then basically we're opening up the beta test for a selected group of people. So from within our community.
Yeah.
So please make sure to join our communities on Twitter and Telegram.
Yeah.
And then we have our beta launch somewhere in end of June, early July, which with our TGE plan somewhere in 3Q of this year, I think builds up with a good setup. Because we're integrating SFire, our token, as well in the whole share to earn system. So I think we need to have that in place. And that will be the beta version. So what will be quite cool is in the follow-up releases, there will be some exciting new functionality in it that is much more around how can you redirect traffic as a creator to your own socials, to your own marketplace. How can we add more social channels to it? I think that will be very exciting. But for now, we're trying to make the beta work, which is looking very promising.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely gonna keep tabs on you guys. For those of you that are actually watching the live stream, I have just posted the link to StraightFire Telegram in our YouTube chat and in our Telegram chat. So be sure to go and check that out because we have a great relationship with Chris and his team, and they're doing some amazing stuff, and we wouldn't want to keep that from you. Cool. Well, beta test. Let's see. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that we should really talk about, Chris? Is there anything we forgot?
No, not really. I think I think that the thing that I sometimes add, I have mixed feelings about. I think is in this industry how people are dealing and talking about building a community, right? And I think that there's a certain expectation level around sizes of communities. So if you don't have
You
a
guys have been growing
50K,
pretty rapidly. I mean, your
no,
Telegram at least.
we are, but I think that that was always the biggest negative feedback we got from investors or from people. Is like,
Yeah, I
yeah, it
know.
was, yeah,
We
you
get the
have to
same
grow,
thing.
you
We
have to
still get,
grow, yeah,
yeah, we still get the same thing. But I'll be honest, man.
and
We can.
okay, I understand that you need to have certain benchmarks in order to validate the project, but I think to have your first benchmark based on Twitter following, I think it's a bit stupid.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably one of the things that I feel strongly about, but I can't change. So it doesn't keep me up at night, but I think I'm a bit frustrated with it sometimes. Is that it's the expectation that we have taught ourselves. And I think I saw this interview the other day where there was this, I think this influencer, he was doing a review of a project, and I think it was Hey Project or something like that, one of those projects. And he said that the founder had admitted that they were inflating some of the numbers in the beginning, and then the influencer said, but listen, we have created this expectation of these projects, so if you want to play the game, this is what you have to do. But of course, it brings out some of the parts that I think are yeah, I have my doubts about, because
Of course,
there is no sustainability in
it's a
it.
facade. It becomes a facade.
Yeah,
It's like it's gonna
yeah.
become a facade because you have to play the game. But what does that mean? What is that value? If you were every if you because if that's a metric and everybody starts to inflate their communities, and we all know it's super easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do one airdrop and you can get 10,000 bots in your channel, and it looks like you have a massive community. What's the value of that? None. It's zero.
No,
it's a
no,
complete
there's
and
none.
utter. It's a mirage. It's fake.
Yeah.
It's like Donald Trump all over again with fake news all over the place. There's no value in
Yeah,
that.
and I
So
think that if you're building a project that is built on FOMO and that you want to sell out on very quickly and then move to the Bahamas, right? I think then that
it's
works.
perfect. It's perfect for that.
Yeah, yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, and that's why I think there's plenty of these rug pull projects, right? But I think
Yes.
that if you want to build something that is substantial, that is for the longer term, I guess in this world means a few years, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to do it in a different way, and then you have to build a real community that actually will start to use what you're
Exactly.
developing, right? But otherwise, what's the point?
I think that's
Yeah.
for everybody listening and watching. I think that's also why we're having such a great relationship between what's going on here and StraightFire. Is that we have those same kind of values, core values. I think that are absolutely essential. And just because everybody has been doing it a certain way, doesn't mean that that's what we have to do. I mean, look at Elon Musk. I don't agree with everything this man says, but he's never done it ever the way everybody else does it, and it seems to be working fine for him. So who says it
I
can't
think
work
so.
for us?
I think so. Yeah.
We gotta wrap it up. I have 3 minutes left, so I'm kind of torn here because I still have one question from Roaming Marco that I didn't actually put to you, even though I promised it. So let's see if we can answer this one in under 1 minute. Okay. So Roman Marco said, "Do you see a coming gap between early adoption and serious businesses affecting NFT service providers such as yourself?" So do you see a coming gap between early adoption and serious businesses?
What I see is that the early big brands that they got in already, and only with they tiptoed in, because let's face it, with the number of real NFT buyers that are around, I think there's probably like 400K. There's no business for them, right? If you're Nike, you're not going to make the money now.
Nope.
So after the first tiptoeing and creating a hype around the fact, like, oh, I'm in the metaverse type of thing, right? Let's write it in all the newspapers. Now we're in the stage where people or the companies that they get in properly, and they do it bit by bit, like what the socials are doing. And I think that that's a very smart thing, and that will actually create more trust. So I think that the honeymoon period is over. All the activities, or a lot of the activities that take place now, are about creating something that is real. And I think that already shows for me that we're moving further in a good direction. So for us, actually, I think it is a positive thing because we don't rely on the FOMO and we have a real product here. But I think there is a challenge, obviously, now in the market because people will ask you the question, oh, what's the utility? How am I as a token holder? How am I going to benefit? What are you going to do for the creator? What are you really going to add? And I think that as a final note, right? If you look at a smart contract in an NFT, if you are able to read it, and for sure there will be a company that will develop some kind of template app that enables you to read every smart contract.
Pay attention, people. Business idea here.
Exactly. Free advice.
Entrepreneur speaking. Go on.
Then everything you can see, and that's the part that I absolutely adore about it. You can see how much money I make as a company. You can see how much money you will make as a creative, and you can make a judgment whether you want to work with me or not. Of course, it still takes some steps because that also means that besides being a creator, for example, you also need to be a smart contract reader, right? But I think everything is there.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. If you look at we're old people, you and me, Chris. The young generations, they don't even read in school anymore. They code. So I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
That was a good circle, Aragon, going back to the old man.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks a lot, Aragon.
So, for everybody listening, that was Chris Eisberg from StraightFire. If you haven't checked out StraightFire, go and check out their Telegram. It's in the chat. We'll make sure that all of their socials are linked underneath the YouTube video and in the description on Spotify. Chris, do you guys have Instagram? Something like that? Quick.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
What is
StraightFire?
Okay, StraightFire.
Yeah.
StraightFire NFT. Okay, cool. So go and check them out there. I'm sure Chris will be back in 12 months talking about the massive success of the 12. That would be great. 12 months, talk about the 12. Sounds good to me.
Oh, lovely, man. Yeah.
So thank you so much. That was the end of the State of the Metaverse on the 20th of May 2022. This was actually episode 6. Next week, I am very sorry to say that there will not be State of the Metaverse because it's the day after Ascension Day. And although I'm not a religious man, that is a public holiday. And a lot of people make it a long weekend in the Netherlands. So we've decided to not force all of you to go back inside to listen to this show, but to allow you to enjoy your holiday, at least if you're in Europe. And if you do have a holiday, we will, however, be back the week after that. And for that particular show, I'm not 100% certain yet, but we're either going to have Rick Woldering from MetaMask to talk about the Metaverse Festival in Amsterdam this summer in June, which is going to be amazing, and we're going to be there. Or we're going to have Alistair Hume talking about the future for humanity in the Metaverse, which is also going to be super excited. It's going to be either one of those two, and then the week after that, it's going to be the other one. So I'm not 100% certain. For this week, of course, don't forget, we still have a Metaverse Exploring Group on May 25th on Wednesday. This week is going to be about how to stand out to get hired in blockchain companies. If this is correct, is this template correct? I hope this is correct. So if you love virtual reality, make sure not to miss out on that one. Of course, if you like this episode, give us a like, give us a subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple iTunes, please give us a review there. I would love to at some day get to 1,000 5-star reviews if we can ever make it that far. If you have any feedback, if you have any things you think we should improve, or things you didn't like, or things you did like, or things you just want to say because you need a place to say them, please leave that in the comments. We look forward to that as well. That's it for this week. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.